Okay, so the oven has now preheated to 500 degrees with the Dutch oven inside. So I'm going to now prepare the first loaf for baking. I'm going to take out the really hot Dutch oven and take the lid off. And from here, I want to prep one of the loaves. And in order to bake the loaf in the oven, you'll want to have a liner, and you can use parchment paper. And just if you had parchment paper, you would rip the parchment paper a little bit wider than the loaf. Since I've been baking so much sourdough, I ordered this silicone sourdough liner. It was about $11 on Amazon. And I think I've definitely gotten my money's worth. I would have probably spent a lot more money on parchment paper over the past year with as often as I've been baking bread. So I'll get that ready. And then I'm going to start with the first loaf. In theory, you shouldn't have to reshape the bread, but I always do. Mine doesn't hold together as well as some of the experts does. So what I do before I bake it in the oven is I put it back on the cutting board and I just kind of scrape it back into shape. Kind of do the same thing that I had done before, but just I don't have to be as precise with it. I just kind of like bend the spatula kind of at an angle and scrape really slowly and just try to get some of that surface tension tighter again. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just kind of scooch around at the bottom and kind of get it back into shape. I've seen others on YouTube where theirs is like really nice and tight and firm, and mine just doesn't do that. But it still cooks really nicely when I do this extra step. So there you have it. So then when we're ready, I scoop it under, put it on the liner. And then the scoring here, some people get really artistic with the designs that they make, but I just get very basic. I just kind of do 2 lines through it. And what this does is this allows the bread to spread open and the sourdough gases to escape and do what it needs to do. And then I grab the handles, place it in the Dutch oven, get my gloves back on. And every oven is a little bit different. My brother was showing me this method and he cooks it for 26 minutes covered. My oven works best if I cook it for 22 minutes covered. So I'm going to put it in. Alexa, set the timer for 22 minutes.
22 minutes, starting now.
Okay, so in 22 minutes I'll come back, I'll open it up, I'll take the top off, and then I'll cook it for another 14 minutes with the top off. Okay, the timer just went off, so I'm going to open up the oven. Whoop, it's steamy. And take the lid off. This is how the bread looks like right now. I'm going to slide it back in and cook it uncovered for another 14 minutes. Alexa, set the timer for 14 minutes. Okay, so the second timer just went off. I'm going to pull this out. You see it's a nice brown, nicely shaped sourdough loaf. Quite lovely, and it smells delicious. I'm going to lift it up, move it off onto our cutting board to cool. So I'll let that cool. We now have 2 imperfectly shaped but perfectly tasting sourdough loaves.